I've made over $500,000 playing poker between the ages of 17 and 27. Today I'm 28, and over the last year, things have taken a turn. Over that 10-year span, I found myself in games that I should never be in, with money that I could barely scavenge together, with outcomes that meant too much to my actual life. But it never stopped me. I found a way to just run better than everyone else, or just work harder than everyone else. And that hunger really drove me and propelled me into the success that I found. Okay, but here's the problem. You can't run good forever. This past year, things have taken quite the turn. I went from winning well in the six figures every single year that I've played poker professionally to having some of the biggest losses ever.
Kieran and Jeffrey for the night they wish to forget.
Kieran stuck 18K.
Yeah, there's no two ways around it. The last 3 times I played on the Hustler, they went pretty poorly. We ended up booking a very small win in one of the episodes that we played, but the other 2 went pretty sour. And the worst part is, most of it was my own doing.
And Kieran, he's finally gonna get it in, but he's gonna run into it. 3-way all-in for JT.
Give it back to him, man, and look at this one.
Oh, Mariano! Spades. Oh, he gets there!
How are you so lucky, man?
Oh my God, the slow roll. Wow.
You're good. Okay. This is a pretty clear call. I just had to think for 2 seconds.
Oh, Kieran. It was a nice try.
Poker has no boundaries. It doesn't give a fuck if you're good at poker or bad. But what it does do is penalize you for being the dunk. And that's kind of the vicinity I'm getting really close to being, which is the fish at the table. The average poker player is significantly better today than they were when I first started 10 years ago, and it's important that we raise our level. We don't want to be in the bottom half when we enter a table, and that's what it feels like right now, or at least that's how I'm playing. Unfortunately, I lost tens of thousands of dollars, and a lot of it was on my own penny. I sold very little action in both of the streams that I lost quite a bit of money in, and unfortunately, that's left me in a very difficult place. To be quite honest, it's not the money that's killing me, but I have absolutely no self-confidence anymore. I don't feel good when I enter the poker table, and for lack of better words, I'm in shambles. Honestly, the easiest thing I can do is to pack the bags up and just quit. But if I'm being honest, that's just not how I see the story end. Although, it is quite obvious. There's got to be some form of change. There's got to be a different way for us to approach the game of poker to finally see some improvement. I'm going to hire the best coaches. I'm going to make the most effort. And lastly, I'm just going to fucking win. 11 a.m. on a Sunday at the Commerce Casino. Let's get to work. It's always important to get off on the right foot. So in this first hand, there's 3 limps to me. I'm in the big blind with ace-6 offsuit. Not a great hand and kind of goes against what we've been talking about all day, but in a passive table like this, I'm going to raise. I make an isolation to 30. All of them call. So obviously didn't make it enough, or my hand's just that bad that it's in trouble either way. 4 ways to a flop that comes out giving me a backdoor flush draw and nothing else. Considering I have the ace of diamonds and I do have the last aggressive action in the hand, you don't need to tell me twice. I'm going to go for the most variance, of course, because I always do. I'm making $50, the button calls, so that didn't work, and then the small blind jams for $250, so it really didn't work. We have an easy fold, the other player folds as well, and just like that, we throw away $80. Yep, that's great. Lose 20% of your stack on the first hand, that's exactly how we drew it up. I don't know about you, but just like in golf, anytime I start off hot, things seem to pretty quickly fizzle on off. So, although I lost $80 on the first hand, I'm looking to put that right behind me, and it's even easier when early position limps and I'm on the button with Queen 10 offsuit. I'm on the button, I've got 2 Broadway cards, easy spot to isolate. The limper calls and so does that big blind player. We're going off to a flop here that comes with the paired board. Not great, but we do have ourselves a gutter ball and some backdoor activities. So when the action's checked to me, we throw out a feeler bet here, and then the limper decides to check min raise me the old click back to 60 buckaroonies. I absolutely hate when people do this. It's almost just an absolute disrespect. There's no other way to take it. So I'm going to take that one disrespect and disrespect him back by calling with just a gutter ball. I mean, that's what's going to happen when you make such a small raise. Either way, the turn card is literally gin. I couldn't have picked a better card out of my ass. The jack of clubs falls on the turn, improving me to the nut straight and also giving me an open-ended straight flush draw. Yeah, it's going to be hard to fuck this one up. At this point, my opponent picks up some chips and then does the old checkaroonski. Given his player profile and considering I've played with quite a few of these people, he's trying to buy a check from me. That's not going to happen. Not going to happen today, buddy. I'm going to go for all of it. I go all frickin' in. $405. He does have me just covered, and although this is kind of a big jam, I don't love it. My hand can honestly use some protection, and there's a really good chance that my opponent's not going to want to stack off if a club or any other scare card comes on the river. So let me put the money in now when he probably thinks he's good with his trips, kings here or something like that. And obviously he won't be because he's running into pretty much the best hand I'm probably going to have here. Either way, after 2 minutes of tanking, I'm begging this guy to freaking call. Please, one time, let me have it. Come on down to Valueville. Yeah, that's not what's going to happen. He unfortunately takes the exit just one stop shy of Valueville, but he does save himself some money, folds, and shows the king of spades face up. So honestly, quite the sick fold. The one thing I can take from it is that we got a little too greedy. Going 2x pot here was quite the craziness here. I just thought he had the king and we were right, but better on him that he was able to find that fold. I spent so much of my poker career playing 5-5 and 5-10, so seeing a lot of these familiar faces is one positive thing, but even better yet, I'm pretty good at profiling players. So with all that considered, I'm ready to go into overdrive. I make it $20 to go with queen 10 suited and only the small blind calls. We flop ourselves a beautiful straight once again, although there is 3 diamonds out there and I don't got one of them. He checks it over to me, and the same player we played against last hand is just not really believing me today. I make it $30 and he calls. Turn card is a deuce of clubs. Great card once again. And when he checks it to me, we've got to continue betting. I go a little bit on the larger side, make it $80 to go. My simple premise and thought here is that if he has a diamond, he's going to call no matter what amount I make it. And if he has one pair, he's going to be iffy and in between whether he calls or folds, so it doesn't really matter to me. And it doesn't seem to matter to him either because he ends up making the fold. But we'll take back-to-back hands. We're definitely in the driver's seat now. One thing I promised myself was to keep myself out of high variance situations. Although we did a really poor job of it on the first hand, every hand since then has been pretty smooth sailing. We got out of that choppy water and we're now just enjoying ourselves in a very brisk, beautiful, slow sailing boat. Don't need to get out of the ordinary, and I don't need to work outside of the box. But nothing stays perfect forever. I am getting fairly bored. It's been over 1 hour of this super smooth sailing, been folding and folding and folding, and I get tired of it. Action folds to me in the middle position, and I look down at queen 8 offsuit. It's a pretty garbage hand, but I'm attacking what I believe is the weakest players behind me on the table to act. I make it 20, and the cutoff and the button make the call. We're going 3 ways to a flop here that comes out Jack 9-5 rainbow. End up here once again with the gutter ball, so not a bad situation to be in for us to continue c-betting, so I make it 40, and the button calls. Going to a turn card here that comes out the 3 of spades, bringing in that backdoor flush draw. Again, doesn't really help me all that much here, but I'm going to continue to bet here and pretend like I had all the good cards, right? I could easily have pocket jacks or pocket nines, and even for slightly worse value, we can easily have a hand like ace jack or king jack even. $80 is the bet, sir, and I can't even get the money out fast enough because he's ready to call. We're off to a river card and needing to get bailed out pretty heavily, and we get bailed out in the way we were least expecting. It comes out the queen of spades. It does bring the backdoor flush that has now been completed. I'm going to go outside of the box. I make it 125, and then he goes deep into the tank once again. Super thin, but when he thinks this long about it, I feel really good about my hand. It's not often you blast, get thrown in the river, have no freaking kicker, and are begging for your opponent to call, but here I am, being as greedy as I've ever been. After quite a bit of thinking, this time, he's finally put up with my shit, and he wants to see it
He makes a call, and he is not happy about it.
The things that are really going to make or break this series are my ability to adapt, to find a way to extract as much money as humanly possible from these players, and obviously find a way to lose the minimum whenever we run into coolers.
I'm in middle position with Jack 8 of hearts, and I make it $20 to go. Middle position calls, and we're greeted with the flop that comes King, King of 4 with 2 clubs and a diamond. A pretty bad board, but something that should be better for my range, whatever the hell that means. I make it $20 once again. The opponent calls fairly quickly with the old string call, those are the fun ones, and the turn card comes out the 7 of clubs. Brings in that front door flush, so if he was worried about that, or I was worried about that, we don't have to worry anymore because it came. So yeah, this is where you have to make the decision. At this point, if I bet this turn, I'm gonna have to bet every single river because I'm just representing a flush and that's kind of it. And if I'd be betting a flush on the turn, I'd probably want to be betting that on the river. I make it $45, and once again he snap calls, throwing in chips one at a time. The river card is the best one I could ever hope for. It comes out the ace of diamonds. I go for gusto. 125, sir. How do you like that? He seems to absolutely hate that idea. He throws his cards into the muck, and I cannot finagle this hand to the dealer fast enough. Good hand to you, sir. We are absolutely laser focused. No matter how big or small the pot is, I don't care what the stakes are. Anytime I get a nice bluff on the river through, the adrenaline, the anxiety that builds up, all of those emotions is what brings me back to the game. In this following hand, there's a $10 blind raise, which we will address as a straddle that has no pre-flop action that closes the action. I make it $40 from under the straddle. The button makes a call and the blind raiser does as well. The flop comes out 10 high rainbow. Doesn't help anyone here, I don't think, and especially less likely when everyone checks through. The turn is going to be one of the best cards in the deck. It comes out the queen of spades, giving me top pair with a good kicker now. We've got the green light to bet. With about $120 in the middle, we want to size up. I make it $100 to make up for lost value on the flop, and the button calls to my surprise. The big blind folds, and we're going heads up to a river card that is, once again, just the absolute stone cold nuts. It comes out a king. I couldn't have written a better story for my poker biopic than getting this beautiful king on the river. Improving to top 2 pair, we have what feels like the effective nuts. With around $500 in the effective stack being him here, I decide it's time to go for it. I put my opponent all freaking in. Let's put him to the test. It's at this point that our opponent is trying to decipher the Da Vinci Code. I usually don't have it, but unfortunately he does know that. So much so that he inevitably calls. Let's go. We show our hand and he's in utter disbelief. A massive pot to end the night with glory.
Clearly we needed that win. It's been a while since I felt any form of confidence at the poker table. But I don't want to lie to myself. Although I feel like we played decent in some spots today, there's clearly quite a bit that we could use to get better at the game of poker. I've reached out to some really close friends of mine, some of the most well-respected people in poker that can help assist me in my journey of becoming a better player. Throughout this entire journey, I'm gonna put it on YouTube for full display, complete transparency, and the goal is to not suck at poker very much. There's a lot more to this story than me winning $1,000 at the Commerce Casino. So if you want to see more, make sure to comment, like, and subscribe. There's so much more to this beautiful story that I can't wait for you guys to see, and we might be going to a little country very soon. Take care.